This is Mac OS Ken.
User privacy versus national security. Free Friday night baseball is a thing of the past. And a glitch in the Apple Music Matrix. It is Thursday, the 23rd of March, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. While Apple has built a bit of a reputation on user privacy over the past few years, that doesn't mean your secrets stay secret. Not when Uncle Sam and his pals come a-callin'. The site WebPro News has new numbers from VPN provider Surfshark. According to those, the U.S. government makes the most requests for user data from big tech companies than any other jurisdiction in the world. And, historically anyway, our pals in Cupertino tend to be the most compliant. The report says the company analyzed data requests to Apple, Google, Meta, and Microsoft by government agencies of 177 countries between 2013 and 2021. In that time frame, nearly 2.5 million account requests were made by the U.S. That is said by the piece to be more than 4 times the number of Germany, second on the request list. In fact, the piece says the U.S. made more requests than all of Europe, including the U.K., which collectively came in under 2 million. Of course, if you give a mouse a cookie, calls for information beget calls for more information, or have to this point anyway. Gabrielle Kveket, privacy counsel at Surfshark, is quoted in the piece saying, "Besides requesting data from technology companies, authorities are now exploring more ways to monitor and tackle crime through online services. For instance, the EU is considering a regulation that would require internet service providers to detect, report, and remove abuse-related content. On one hand, introducing such new measures could help solve serious criminal cases, but civil society organizations expressed their concerns of encouraging surveillance techniques which may later be used, for example, to track down political rivals." As for who's giving up what how often, the Surfshark report says Apple has led in-disclosure rates since 2016, raising it from 76% in 2016 to 86% in 2021. While Apple's average is 82%, the remaining 3 companies' average is around 70%. More than half, 57% of all requests that Apple complied with, had come from the U.S. While Apple may make it easier than others today, Apple, Alphabet, and Meta all want to make making at least some requests more difficult going forward. Apple Insider says those 3 companies are lobbying to change the way Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance, or FISA, Act works before the end of this year. That's when Congress is expected to try to renew that rule. According to the piece, Section 702 allows government agencies to demand data such as phone records, texts, and emails from companies for national security investigations. According to the piece, the companies hope to gain the ability to publicly disclose how often they are asked to provide information under Section 702 and what kind of data they are expected to hand over. The piece goes on to say big tech also hopes to restrict intelligence agencies from using the information and instead require a warrant before agencies can search the Section 702 database for info on U.S. citizens. That may sound like a pipe dream on the part of tech, though legislators on both sides of the aisle are said to be interested in tightening the rule. Apple Insider says Representative Darren LaHood, Republican of Illinois, has said publicly that a clean legislative reauthorization of 702 is a non-starter. Similarly, Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat of Washington, is quoted as saying, "We must take this opportunity to reform Section 702 and overhaul privacy protections for Americans." Free baseball is a thing of the past where Apple TV is concerned. The Cupertino Company and Major League Baseball announced their Friday Night Baseball plans on Wednesday. This year, they require a plan. According to the press release, the weekly doubleheader will be available to all Apple TV Plus subscribers on Fridays throughout the regular season. Subscribers, not just people with the Apple TV app. That's the bad news. Assuming any of this is bad news, more to the upside, the games will be available in more places. A piece on the announcement from TechCrunch says the games will be available to viewers in 60 countries, a significant increase over last year's 13. There are a couple of interesting local angles as well. Same as with Major League Soccer, there are no local blackout restrictions for the MLB games. So if you live in New York City and one of that week's games involves the Yankees or the Mets, you'll get to watch the game on Apple TV+. Additionally, there was a local angle to the broadcasts as well. While Apple did announce a new broadcast team, they'd be national for a national audience. For folks who prefer more homers with their homers, Apple says fans in the US and Canada will also have the option to listen to the audio of the home and away team's local radio broadcasts during Friday night baseball games. So, 2 marquee games every Friday, though no ability to follow a particular team or teams throughout the season. Local radio broadcasts to complement national television coverage, though, again, local to whatever game happens to turn up, which may or may not be your favorite team. Is any of that enough to get people to pony up $6.99 a month? Or is Friday Night Baseball just a nice bonus for people already paying to watch Sharper, Shrinking, and Ted Lasso? Whatever the case, Apple TV Plus will be taking viewers out to the ball game soon. Friday Night Baseball starts just over 2 weeks from now, on Friday, the 7th of April, on Apple TV Plus. Streaming services like Apple Music are great for discovering new tunes. But they shouldn't belong to other people, right? Mac Rumors notes a number of complaints on Reddit about other people's playlists randomly appearing in music libraries in the Music app. According to the piece, Redditor ADH1003 has compiled several reports from users complaining about the appearance of strange playlists in the app that they do not recognize. Mac Rumors has since found other posts on Reddit from users reporting the same behavior. It's not just adding, though. Some reports have the unexpected playlists slotting in with the user's existing playlists. Other times, though, the mystery lists have replaced playlists made by the user. The piece says the issue appears to be sparking serious privacy concerns for some users, though Mac Rumors itself sees little reason for that. Quoting the report, some users have expressed concerns that their Apple accounts have been hacked, but the more likely cause of the issue is an unspecified problem with Apple's iCloud server. Unsyncing and then resyncing iCloud for the Music app has worked for a handful of users, though not all. Apple does not seem to have offered comment on the issue to affected users, nor to Mac Rumors. Apple's still hard at work on the autonomous auto thing. The site Mac reports that the number of Apple drivers testing driverless features has grown since January, from 196 people to 201. As for driverless cars with no driver, that number for Apple stands at 0, at least for cars on the road. Apple still has not applied for a driverless permit, according to the report. So how are things going? Well, there was one fender bender, though that seems to have been down to human error. Late last month, the report says one of Apple's cars in manual driving mode made a U-turn and hit a curb in the process. No injuries were reported, and law enforcement was not called to the scene, according to Mac reports. The test vehicle sustained damage to the right front rim. And finally today, Apple TV Plus has 15 shots at more awards. Nominations for the BAFTA, Television, and Television Craft Awards have been announced, and Apple TV Plus titles have picked up 15. According to a piece from Apple Insider, the shows Bad Sisters and Slow Horses have each picked up 5 nominations. The Essex Serpent picked up 3, Pachinko nabbed 1 in the category for international productions, and Taron Egerton picked up 1 for leading actor in the limited series Blackbird. He'll actually go up against Gary Oldman in the same category for Slow Horses. The BAFTA Television Craft Awards will be announced on the 23rd of April, according to Apple Insider. The remaining BAFTA Television Awards categories will be on the 14th of May. Today on the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast, Apple's major changes with Major League Baseball raised a few questions for me. TMO Managing Editor Jeff Butts joins me to bat those around. Plus, Jeff may have had that Apple Music problem. He'll tell us more on the Daily Observations podcast from the Mac Observer, online at macobserver.com or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.